The political earthquake we have all been fearing has finally hit, and it has hit the north with the force of a tsunami. If you thought the recent talk about insecurity was just the usual noise, you need to pay very close attention to what is happening in Washington, D.C. right now. A massive bombshell has just dropped from the United States Congress, and it carries the name of one of the most powerful politicians in Nigeria. The headline you saw is not a mistake. The United States Congress is currently debating a bill that explicitly named former Kano State Governor and presidential candidate Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso alongside the Fulani Herdsmen groups as alleged sponsors of terrorism and religious persecution in Nigeria. This is not a rumor from a blog. This is an official legislative document that could see a man who once ran for president banned from ever entering the United States again and having every single dollar he owns in foreign accounts frozen. Today, Wednesday, February 11th, 2026, we are looking at the Nigeria Religious Freedom and Accountability Act of 2026. This is the document that has set Abuja and Kano on fire. Two Republican lawmakers, Riley Moore and the veteran Chris Smith, have introduced this bill with a singular, terrifying goal: to sanction those they believe are responsible for the systemic religious persecution of Christians in Nigeria. But for the first time, they are not just going after the gunmen in the bush, they are going after the big men in the cities. The bill identifies Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, a former senator, a former minister of defense, and the leader of the Kwankwasia movement, as a key individual who must be investigated and sanctioned. The allegations are heavy. The bill claims that Kwankwaso and certain organizations have provided support to Fulani ethnic militias who carry out violence. It accuses them of furthering a narrative of religious intolerance that has led to the death and displacement of thousands of Christians, particularly in the Middle Belt. Now, we know that these claims of a Christian genocide have been disputed by many local and international observers who see the conflict as a resource war between farmers and herders. But the sponsors of this bill, Representative Moore and Smith, are not interested in the resource war debate. They are operating on the conviction that this is a religious cleansing, and they are demanding heads to roll. This brings us to the other target in the crosshairs, Miyetti Allah. The bill specifically names the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, MACBAN, and the Miyetti Allah counter-terrorism. For years, these groups have claimed they are just trade unions protecting the interests of cattle rearers. But this US bill categorizes their activities very differently. It states that the Fulani militant groups, allegedly supported by these associations, have engaged in acts that meet the statutory definition of terrorist activity under US immigration law. We are talking about targeted killings, hostage-taking, hijackings, and massacres of civilians. If this bill passes, Miyetti Allah will effectively be treated like a terrorist organization by the US government. Now, I have to pause here and ask you, the viewer, because this is a moment that defines our sovereignty versus international justice. Do you believe that a Nigerian politician like Kwankwaso should be sanctioned by America based on these allegations, or is this foreign interference in our politics? I really want to read your honest opinion in the comment section below. And please, if you want to see how the Red Cap chiefs in Kano respond to this bombshell, do me a massive favor and click that like button right now. It helps us spread this news to more people. And if you are new here, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the update when the Nigerian government finally reacts. Welcome back. Let's talk about the consequences. The bill is recommending sanctions under the Global Magnitsky Act. This is the most feared tool in the American diplomatic arsenal. If applied to Kwankwaso, it means he cannot step foot in the US. It means any bank in the world that does business with the US financial system, which is basically all of them, would have to freeze his account or risk being sanctioned themselves. It is a financial death sentence. For a man who has ambitions to run for president again in 2027, this is a catastrophe. How do you campaign when you are labeled a terrorist sponsor by the world's superpower? The inclusion of Kwankwaso is particularly shocking because he has always presented himself as a nationalist. As a former defense minister, he knows the security architecture better than most. His supporters are already crying foul, saying this is a political witch hunt designed to neutralize him before the next election. They argue that Kwankwaso has never advocated for violence, but the US lawmakers are insisting that his rhetoric and his alleged behind-the-scenes support for certain groups make him complicit. Now, we also have to look at the Trump factor. This bill still needs to be passed by Congress and signed by President Donald Trump. But as we have seen in recent weeks, Trump is very aggressive on this issue. He has already designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern. If this bill lands on his desk, there's a very high chance he will sign it. His administration has made protecting persecuted Christians a central pillar of his foreign policy. He's not looking for nuance, he's looking for action. And sanctioning a high-profile Muslim politician from northern Nigeria sends exactly the kind of strong message his base loves. The bill also demands that the U.S. Secretary of State submit reports on whether these groups should be formally designated as foreign terrorist organizations. If Miyetti Allah gets that FTO tag, it becomes a crime for anyone in the U.S. to have any dealings with them. It also puts massive pressure on the Nigerian government to proscribe them at home. Remember how they proscribed IPOB? The US is essentially asking, why haven't you done the same for the groups killing in Benue and Plateau? This is a developing story that is moving very fast. We are waiting to see if the Nigerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs will summon the US ambassador. We are waiting to hear from Kwankwaso himself. Will he fight this in a US court? Will he rally his millions of supporters in a protest? The red caps are quiet for now, but in Kano, silence usually means a storm is gathering. The implications for 2027 are huge. If the opposition leaders are targeted by US sanctions, the playing field changes completely. Is the US trying to pick our next president by knocking out the contenders they don't like? Or are they finally doing what our own judicial system has failed to do, holding powerful men accountable for the blood flowing in our rivers? As we watch this bill move through the US legislative process, one thing is clear. The days of business as usual for the Nigerian political elite are over. The world is watching, and the Americans are bringing out the handcuffs.